The ecosystem runs for 24 hours, but still I did not expect for my involvement in the project to begin here, in the car park of Kilsture Forest, a community woodland on the Mackers Peninsula. The clear light of early afternoon dancing across Wigtown Bay to the hills opposite. The car park is nestled into a ring of trees, muffling sounds from the country lanes nearby, the bark and clatter of paws from the dogs in the wood. The beech trees are coming brightly into leaf, and the bluebells smell sweet. And all is almost still and peaceful, but for the muffled wheezing of saws biting into raw timber, the squeal of a power drill, and 6 teenagers. When the teenagers, members of the Police Scotland Youth Volunteers, arrived, they were initially reserved. Sitting around while Species on the Edge's Jack Barton and Elaine Rainey from Kilsture Forest Community Group spoke about the basics of bats and the woodland. But as soon as the tools came out, they warmed up. The initial reticence, complaints of hand-eye coordination, lack of skills, the "I can't do this" before they'd even tried, dissolved in noise and sawdust and the joy of doing. What they are doing is building bat boxes. The beeches here, as Elaine explained, are 100 years old, or rather, young in the life of a tree despite their impressive stature. They have yet to shed limbs or gain the fissures and cracks that a bat needs to roost in. The boxes, rough panels of wood screwed together with bat-sized gaps between, are a replacement for time, a shortcut to habitat. The teenagers have done well, problem solving as they go, and suddenly they are talking like experts, artisans of the bat box. Later, Elaine leads us through the forest, a nature walk for beginners, basic spring botany and the names of trees and the singing birds, other lives that utilise the same space, the same basic food type at different times of the day. She paints the scene for the teenagers, the purpose for why they were here, risking splinters, imagining the wood at night and conjuring the bats into their minds. But did the teenagers enjoy it? I asked Amy McGregor, Wildlife Crime Officer for Stranraer.
They've definitely picked up a bit of knowledge about bats as well, but also the skills that they've been able to pick up today. I was really impressed with some of their drill work, so that's always good to know. But yeah, no, I think they've definitely enjoyed it and it's been really informative.
I couldn't resist asking her if she ever dealt with bats in her day job. Her answer, that she hadn't on her Stranraer beat, was heartening. To the best of everyone's knowledge, people in the west of the area at least are living alongside bats without breaking the law. After the volunteers left, I spoke to Jack and Elaine about the project's purpose in a place like Kilsture.
So today we've been out with Police Scotland Youth Volunteers, the Galloway branch, and this is part of our Kilsture 1000 Citizen Science project, where we're trying to get as many people into the wood, recording as many species as we can so that we can find out more about the diversity of the woodland. And the idea is that the more we can find out and the more we know about the woodland, the better we'll be able to protect it for future generations. So as part of that project, we're working with various different organisations and different collaborations and partnerships. And one of those is with Species on the Edge.
And through Species on the Edge, one of the target species or group of target species are bats, which includes common pipistrelle, soprano pipistrelle, Dorbenton's bat and brown long-eared bat. And so we thought it would be a brilliant idea to get the youth volunteers to help build some bat boxes. So I brought along some materials today to construct those bat boxes. Some of them were pre-cut, and we also did some cutting as well, and the volunteers helped build those boxes, put them together.
I think a key part of conservation is trying to capture people's attention, but also give them some involvement in what you're doing. And I think that the kids today really appreciated that.
Yeah, I think it was really great to kind of get our hands, or everyone stuck in using the tools. So as well as learning about the bats and what the requirements of the bats. So we learnt about why bat boxes can be useful, putting them in habitats where there might not be many natural cracks or crevices for the bats to roost or hibernate in. So we learned about that, but then also getting stuck in and putting them together makes you think about, so an important activity that you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing about this session, is that we tried to kind of pull it all together, so it's not just one thing in isolation, so if we'd had the group in a workshop maybe making the boxes, it would have been a totally different experience, whereas this has been immersive. And they've really gone away with a kind of understanding of the place of the bats within Kilsture and all the other things that are linked to their presence as well. And we're certainly keen to get more young people into the woodland as well, because they need to start experiencing it so that they can, form connections with it, and then those future generations are going to be the ones that will need to protect it. So the sooner we can start that work, the better.
How many species of bats do we have here in Kilsture?
We have 6 on record, although through the Species in the Edge project we're going to be doing a bat talk and a walk as well, as part of the Kilsture 1000 Citizen Science project, so hopefully we'll be able to pick up some more species, but Jack could speak more about the actual species.
Yeah. So the most frequent bats here are likely to be the common pipistrelle and the soprano pipistrelle, and they're generally found in a wide range of habitats, so they'll be feeding along hedgerows and in the fields, as well as in the woodland, especially along open spaces and woodland rides, and then there are a few waterways and ponds in the woods, so we'll get the Daubenton's bats hopefully in those areas. The Daubenton's incredibly feed over the water, and they're amazing to watch as they weave their way across the water. And then long-eared bats as well, the brown long-eared bats, typically a woodland species, so we'll get those as well.
Because bats are a great sort of eloquent voice for our nocturnal environment, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly, so they can tell us, the health of the woodland or the environment which they're in, how many insects, invertebrates there are, all sorts.
There is something in the work we did at Kilsture that afternoon. There was the literal level. We made bat boxes, gave them some extra space. Then there was the less tangible level. For those volunteers giving their time for the bat project, we hoped combat that unknowability. Each left with a new understanding of the lives of bats. Their volunteering might typically be in the human community, but here eyes were opened. And I feel it working on me. I've borrowed a bat detector. It switches on with a light buzz that as you turn up the volume and twist the dial, the static gets worse. A harsh, unpleasant sound that puts me on edge. It is an odd experience, being outside, looking for wildlife and intentionally making a horrible noise. I'm walking down the local cycle path, which runs alongside the railway line, twisting the dial. The pipistrelle flits between the darkness of trees, and there, the dial lighting at 55 kHz, its harsh buzz leaps into life, a rhythm resolving out of it. Soprano, not common. The common pipistrelle is a curious question here. I asked Liam about why I'm not finding them.
Based on my understanding and my observations, that soprano pipistrelle is by far more common in Scotland than the common pipistrelle, a bit of a misnomer in our case. And again, having seen various distribution maps, it seems that that's further punctuated when you go further north in Scotland, that I think the common pipistrelle is absent altogether and it's exclusively soprano pipistrelle. And I don't know for what reason exactly, whether there are sort of certain adaptations that soprano pipistrelle has that mean that it has a competitive advantage or ability to adapt to colder climates than the common pipistrelle.
Indeed, the common pipistrelles that you've been hearing I recorded later in the year, 300 miles south in the east of England. A few weeks later, I was back at Kilsture. After a talk, we headed out on a bat walk, retracing the steps we took with Elaine and the teenagers. The bluebells are over now, pale seed heads like ghost plants in the shadow light. The setting sun picking out the northwest-facing sides of the beech trunks. The canopy closed with a dense coverage of leaves. Black caps still singing. The crunch of 40 feet walking across gravel and leaf litter. I fell into step with Krista Watmore.
And why have you come on the bat walk?
Because I've been helping out with the Kilsture project and I'm fascinated with bats and wildlife generally. And I just thought it'd be a good opportunity to learn more about bats and listen to the professionals.
Okay, you have a very professional looking app. Can you tell me about your app?
Yes, this is an Echo Touch meter, and you get an app on your phone and you basically plug this touch meter into the USB-C port on your phone and it records the bat's echolocations and tells you what kind of bat it is. So yeah, it's fascinating because I've got bats living in my loft, but this is the first time I've used it away from my house, so it'd be interesting to see there's different species here.
And can you tell me about the bats in your attic?
Yes, they are a mixture of common and soprano pipistrelles, and they've been there since I've lived in the house, which is 4 years, and I see them every spring and summer. And when I last counted them, there were 59, but there will be more than that, so I need to do a proper count and see exactly how many more, which I'm intending to do in a couple of weeks. So.
And how do you feel about sharing a house with bats?
Very, very privileged. I know a lot of people wouldn't like it, but I absolutely love it. Yeah, it's just, they don't do any harm, they don't chew your wires, they just quietly sit there. The only one thing that they do is there's a slight crack in the ceiling of my kitchen, and occasionally I will find a little dropping on my kitchen worktop which has come through the little gap, but you know, it's all good. I'm that weird that I then get the dropping and put it in a microscope to see what's in it.
Amazing. And what is in it?
Bits of wings and legs and fly, just general bits of fly basically. So yeah, it's interesting.
I drift down the narrow path, past the dying ash trees, my detector set for sopranos, trying to escape the hubbub of the group's cooing and excitable chatter and coughing and shuffling feet. I am trying to record the sounds of the detector. I get dazzled by the passing of sopranos, skimming the narrow path either side of my head, the loud chattering of the detector as they pass, my own rapt attention, not breathing unless I make a sound. It does not feel right to make a sound. I return to the group. They've had a common pipistrelle pass that doesn't return when I've rejoined. Some things are good at hiding in the night.